This morning, we examine what's taking place with Roe versus Wade. For nearly 50 years, women have had the right to choose. They have been able to decide the future of their bodies, the future of their homes, and in some cases, the future of their lives. In some instances, women are faced with a very complex choice of whether or not to save their baby or save themselves. And up until now, since at least about the 70s, women have been able to make that choice for themselves. However, with the decision looming on whether or not the Supreme Court is going to overturn Roe versus Wade, many women are feeling like that choice is being taken from them. In fact, we're seeing thousands of people, men and women alike, take the streets across the country to protest the idea of Roe versus Wade being overturned. Here in Minnesota, in both St. Paul and Minneapolis, we've been seeing protests. I want you guys to go ahead and take a look at the two emergency rallies that took place when the news first came out.
Why are we here today arguing this over and over again? The lawmakers who claim to care about life are word-vomiting bullshit. Of course, they don't actually care about the well-being of any fetuses and soon-to-be newborns. Not at all. This much is apparent in the disgusting lack of investment in social policies such as universal health care, the inaccessibility of our infrastructure, and the disinvestment in public education.
Women embody various identities and affinities, and just uterus having people in general. If we look around, we will see that there is no singular definition of what it means to be a woman. And it's harsh, but we also know that not all women are treated the same. Not all assigned female at birth people are treated the same. Indigenous women, poor women, disabled people, black and brown people, trans and non-binary people. The farther one is from the ideal person, the greater discrimination and abuse one can face. We're demanding everyone be treated with humanity and not with discrimination.
They assured us that we were secure because we had this untouchable line of defense in Roe v. Wade. But the truth is that they saw this crisis coming and they had opportunity after opportunity to stop it, and they did nothing. They failed us. They sat back and allowed their conservative counterparts to pass abortion restrictive bills that stripped effective abortion from almost the entire South this year. And they won elections for the past 50 years on the rhetoric of protecting reproductive freedom, meanwhile doing nothing to codify abortion rights in federal law. Someone say shame! And women's rights are under attack! What do we do? Stand up, fight back! When women's rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back! When trans rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back!
And so, as you can see there, DJ Exclusive, I mean, hundreds of people came out. That's just here in Minnesota. But on the other side of this, from the faith community, people are saying we need to protect the sanctity of life. What are your thoughts on this?
Georgia, it's a lot. It really is, just... First of all, that the leak even happened is a lot, but now that, they're confirming that it is true and everything is going on, I'm glad that there are so many protests popping up. I know here in Atlanta as well, too. Once it came out, the protesters, they showed up right there at the Capitol steps here in Atlanta as well to protest. So I'm glad it's happening. But, that other caveat is you have those that are in support of this showing up as well, too. And just listening to some of those comments that they make, it's almost like, do you hear what you're saying? And the disturbing part of that is some of those people are the people that look just like you and I, Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, I feel like it's not my place to be God. Amen. At the end of the day, like, no one on this earth is perfect. And if you are a spiritual person, that is what the Bible says, is like God is going to judge us based on our own decisions that we make. And so it doesn't quite make sense to me that we still, as a country, we don't have paid parental leave. You know, and so if a family, even this happens sometimes for married couples where they're on baby number 5 or 6, you know, and trying to make ends meet. Maybe maybe the mom just started a new job. She's not going to get parental leave. She's going to actually lose her job. That happened to me twice, not being eligible for maternity leave. And so it feels like there's a double-edged sword in our laws, because if we're removing the right for women to have an abortion, what protections are we putting in place for them to keep the baby and also keep their job and also maintain their health? And so it's just in the same breath of these lawmakers who are saying that they want to ban abortions, they should also be saying, and we're going to advance paid parental leave, and we're going to provide free, preschool for all, kids. We're going to reduce the cost of childcare. But none of those things are happening. So for me, you can't just say, let's protect the children, but then not stand up and actually pass legislation that protects the children when they're born. Right. And so that's the part where it frustrates me. I'd love to hear from you guys, by the way. Those of you who are listening, you can call in at 301-715-8592. That's going to be pinned in the chat. Again, that's 301-715-8592. I understand this is a really complex issue. We want to hear from you regardless of where you stand, or even if you've had your own personal experiences. DJ Exclusive, you said in Atlanta, they're also protesting this. I know in Portland, they're protesting. I've seen a few other cities that are protesting too. Has there been any lawmakers out there who have stood up to take a stand either for or against this?
Georgia, they've been very, very quiet here in Georgia. I can honestly say that here. Haven't heard anything from our state politicians. So I am interested to see. I know that day to day that the protests are growing. So I am interested to hear from them. But as of now, nothing at all. Only one that we have heard something from is Stacey Abrams, of course.
Yeah. So, I do know a friend of the show, Senator Turner, has been speaking out, and I want you guys to take a listen. She's a good friend of the show. I want you guys to take a listen at what she has to say on this issue.
How are you feeling?
I am angry.
Angry and upset?
Angry and upset and determined. The United States Congress can keep Roe versus Wade the law of the land. They just need to do it.
I've never seen you so angry. You seem to be...
This is what the Republicans have been working toward this day for decades. They have been out there plotting, carefully cultivating these Supreme Court justices so they could have a majority on the bench who would accomplish something that the majority of Americans do not want. 69% of people across this country, red states and blue states, old people and young people, want Roe versus Wade to maintain as the law of the land. We need to do that. And we have a right. Extremists, we've heard enough from the extremists, and we're tired of it. Thank you.
Senator, does this open the door for other constitutional rights?
That's Senator Warren, not to be confused with a friend of the show, Nina. But we do have a call. Let's go ahead and hear from one of our listeners. Good morning. Are you with us?
Hello?
Good morning.
Hello?
What are your thoughts on Roe versus Wade being overturned?
I feel horrible. To say the least. But I feel most horrible for the people that this will be especially a lot of those young women and people who don't have like the resources and money or just the ability to get an abortion when they desperately need it. I feel like there are people, especially people in power, who could be really doing something and actually being forcefully, like, giving this moment the anger and like the severity it deserves. But I don't feel like they're really out to do anything. I mean, I feel like people like Elizabeth Warren and possibly AOC, I think they're like the only ones really getting this moment the severity it deserves. But I don't really see anybody else in leadership doing much of anything. I actually see like people like Jim Clyburn doing the opposite. There's something for people like Henry Cuellar, like the anti-abortion Democrat in the House. And to say nothing of the actual like Republicans who are making this about the leaker and making this about like, oh, who leaked this and who did this, and like while ignoring the actual substance of like women losing their bodily autonomy, because they know that it's unpopular and they know that people are not in support of this. And they don't.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you say to people in the faith community who feel like from a moral standpoint, abortion is wrong?
Well, I mean, I feel like they're going to believe what they believe. And I feel like what they believe is baked in. But I think there is some convincing that we need to have them do, because this is not about being like pro-life or this or that. Like, because like I would love for them to understand that, and I hope we can convince them that this was never about being pro-life. Like because women will not. There are people that won't survive this, and people are going to be. People are going to die as a result of these like unwanted pregnancies. It's just I'm not sure how to convince them. I'm just one person, but I do think I do think we should do everything we can to like talk to them and make sure they feel it that these people they don't care about you, and they never have. And and
it's also hard to find the words, And so, what is your name, sir? Where are you calling from?
This is Tyler Hackner. I'm from Minnesota.
Tyler, thank you so much for calling this morning. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. Mm-hmm. Georgia, you said something. You asked him that question. What would you say in the face of those that come with the Bible argument? Honestly, myself, I would say, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, I would say to them myself, hey, everybody has their own beliefs, and they're free to believe what they believe. You believe in what that book says. Maybe I don't. I don't take it word for word. But so at the end of the day, you trying to push your rhetoric or your beliefs on me, it's not going to work the same. You can't convince me otherwise. I mean, I have free will and I have free thinking. So at the end of the day, don't try to push your beliefs on me, and I won't try to push my beliefs on you. But at the end of the day, I do believe that it is up to the woman to make their own decisions for what they want to do with their bodies. Regardless of what any book says, it is the woman's right and decision. Period.
Well, and I think that, to your point, oftentimes this is not a easy decision. It's not just black or white. It's not just right or wrong. I think that there's a lot of complexity and nuance that goes into a woman making this choice, which clearly is not, I'm guessing, an easy choice for anyone to make. Mm-hmm. But there's so many examples and situations that have been thrown out there. And regardless of what percentage of the population for women who get abortions it represents, when you think about a woman being raped and getting pregnant as a result, do we really want to become a society that forces that woman to have to raise that child and for 9 months? That is a very sensitive situation, but it is a real situation that has occurred, and it might not be a large percentage of abortions. And we've talked already this morning about situations where women know that they are in danger of dying, whatever medical condition that they get when they become pregnant. Women who have a history of hemorrhaging, which is the leading cause of death while giving birth. You have those situations where women are like, well, is it my life or the baby's life? And again, so to just totally outlaw abortion altogether, it feels like we're missing the mark, and that there's so many situations, and needless to say, even just if a woman can't afford it or doesn't want to be a single mom, or the list goes on and on and on of reasons why women choose to have an abortion. And at the end of the day, if you have a moral compass and you do believe in God, then that is something that they need to reconcile in their relationship with God. It's not like we have this perfect society where it's affordable to have a home or affordable to have healthcare or affordable to have childcare. And so as the middle class is increasingly becoming smaller and smaller and smaller, it's just, and I think that there's a lot of other things that get lost in this conversation. A lot of the nuance about even women in circles that I know often talk about, like, why can't men take birth control? It's always up to the woman, and how much after 10 years of being married, you're doped up on birth control. What does that do to your body? And at what point can that burden be put on your partner? And so I'm curious to hear from people. I think we still have time for another call. If you want to call in 301-715-8592. But it's a very complex issue. And there's a lot of nuance and complexities to it.
And Georgia, we do have another caller on the line. Bring them in just a moment. But it's funny to me how we're having this discussion not a year, maybe a little more removed from a lot of these same people saying, you can't tell me that I have to wear a mask to save countless lives, but now I'm going to tell these women what they can and can't do. You know what I mean? So it's kind of ironic that we're here now. But caller, thank you for calling. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Angie from Wisconsin.
Good morning, Angie.
What I want to talk about is I think we need to talk more about how they're going after the birth control also. That's not being talked about as much as the abortion. And I don't think a lot of the conservative people really know that they're going after the birth control, that it's just the abortion and that's what they're against. But once they realize that they can't even take birth control to prevent pregnancy, which is their whole point, well, why don't you take contraceptive to avoid being pregnant. And yeah, that's, I just feel like we should just talk a lot more about this no birth control bit, because even Republican women take birth control.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Angie, thank you so much for calling this morning. You bring up a very great point. And even some say in communities, contraceptives are extremely expensive. They're also not 100% effective either. They are more and more effective. However, I will say that I have 3 children and was definitely on birth control when I got pregnant with at least one of them. And so, that there's that. But in some communities, when you start going further and further out in rural communities, it is not as easy to get contraceptives. And if you
and they're trying to make it. They're trying to make it illegal to even mail. They're trying to make it a drug, like a number 1 drug, like marijuana, is basically what they're saying. I think it was like in Michigan that they proposed it. So the thought is there. So if you can't even get it mailed to you, and I know for here, one of our stores is they don't even sell condoms. So, wow. I mean, that's a religious thing for that store. So it's like, if you can't even have a condom, I mean, and I don't know if these men realize it, that us women, every once in a while, we like to have a nice little one-night stand, a little quickie. Those are out. Those are going to be completely out. I just want y'all to know this, because I know one thing: I ain't gonna want to have sex at all if I'm not protected in no way, shape, or form. I'm just letting you know that. Just thought I'd point that out to the men that might not point two together.
Well, I would hate to know I'd hate to know the statistics of STDs in that city.
Oh, right.
That's a whole nother problem. Angie, thank you so much for calling.
All right, you have a great one. Bye-bye.
You as well.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you. Well, we are on the clock. It is a 7 your time, Bubba. But we are going to continue to follow this. I know that there's been already some developments this morning. There's more protests that are planned here in the metro area in Minnesota. So we're going to continue to follow this. But stick around for more on the Benjamin Dixon Show.